Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. My name is Dannii Cohen. This week's guest is
Ilana Levine. Ilana Levine starred as Lucy in the acclaimed 1999 Broadway revival of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, starring alongside Kristin Chenoweth and B.D. Wong, amongst others. On Broadway, she starred in The Last Night of Ballyhoo, Wrong Mountain, and Jake's Woman, and more. On TV, she appeared in Seinfeld, Law and Order, NYPD Blue, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and more. Some of her best known films include The Nanny Diaries, Confessions of a Shopaholic, Five Flights Up with Morgan Freeman and Diane Keaton, and Kissing Jessica Stein. She also hosts the long-running and highly respected theatre podcast Little Known Facts with Ilana Levine.
I hope that you'll enjoy the show. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready.
Okay. What are you doing right now?
What am I doing right now?
In your life and career.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, right now in my life, I just packed up my daughter. My husband is driving her up to her college, so I feel emotional about that. Luckily, I still have a son who's home, so I'm not quite an empty nester, as they call it, yet. And yeah, and then this morning I did an episode of my podcast with somebody. I did an interview, and yeah, it's summer in New York City. It's very hot, and now I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you. How did you fall in love with acting and theater and everything?
I always loved going to see live theater. I would say my introduction to the arts was definitely through Broadway. We lived in New Jersey. For your listeners, that is really close to Manhattan. We just drove across the George Washington Bridge, and suddenly we went from like a very suburban setting to the like very intense and exciting world of Times Square. And it took like half an hour to get from my house to the Broadway district, and it was a whole other world. And early on in my life, my mom, who grew up in New York, had always loved theater, and so she introduced us to theater, musicals especially, at a very young age. And that was how my family celebrated everything. You got to pick a show. Sometimes the seats were great, sometimes the seats were terrible, but going to see those musicals, holding, the original cast recordings in my hand and like reading them. This was back in the day where you bought record albums. That was really like my introduction to it. I didn't really do any performing as a kid. I just was an incredibly grateful audience member. And then later in life, as I was starting college, I had a situation where I met someone who was writing a play, and before I knew it, I was auditing an acting class that he went to, and I just fell in love with the world of an acting studio. I had no idea it was going to be something I would do professionally. I just thought this is a very interesting group of people working on plays, something I'd never done before. And slowly I found myself more and more interested in studying theater. And so I had originally thought I would go to college and work in advertising. And then I shifted my focus to acting. And it was a slow process, but it was never sort of about it being a profession. It was about being really compelled by the people that I was meeting in that community and the stories they were writing and sharing. the kindness and empathy in those rooms where people would do acting exercises or scenes, and learning from different teachers how to respond to work. Criticism is very tough, and learning how to be constructive with criticism was a life skill, not just in terms of how to talk about the work respectfully and always beginning with what was wonderful about it, and then getting into like ideas about what could make it better, but also just in life. It was a great life skill.
It's so wonderful when you meet actors and fall in with the group. It's
Yeah. I
yes.
mean, I'm so lucky. It could have been any, I mean, I was very young and impressionable, and it's so lucky when you get interested in something and find yourself in rooms with older people who are actually open and generous and welcoming, and not like, wait, you don't know what you're doing. What are you doing here? Like, they were very open and generous, and those were teachers that were really important to me in my younger life.
What was your first professional acting job?
My first professional job, because I didn't have an agent yet, right? I was just out of university here. I went in New York City. And there's at the time, it was a paper that you bought, like an actual magazine, not like now where everything's online. And it was called Backstage. And I found things that I was right for, and I went and auditioned for a play called Edmund. It was a David Mamet play, not the original production, like off Broadway. And that was my first job that I got hired to do in the theater. And what was remarkable about it is that a guy came to see that play, and he came backstage afterwards to introduce himself to me. And he said, "I'm an agent. My name is Stephen Hirsch." And I was like, "No, you were my summer camp boyfriend when I was 10 years old." And he was like, it was just crazy. The idea that like my first crush, he was wonderful in The Sound of Music at summer camp, he was an assistant to an agent at that time. And he was just scouring New York City, going to very off the beaten path productions. And he saw that I was doing this show. He's like, "I wonder if that's the same Ilana Levine from summer camp." And it was. And that's how I got my first agent. And that was the beginning of my getting, professional work.
Such an amazing coincidence.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And he's still my dear, dear friend to this day. I was just emailing with him this morning. He didn't remain my agent always, but he got me started. Then he became my husband's agent. It's crazy. But yeah, we've known each other since we're really, really little.
Your best known musical stage role is Lucy van Pelt in the revival of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. How was that experience for you?
Well, first of all, not my first musical, my only musical, because because I'm not a musical theater performer. I'm a musical theater lover. And so the idea that I was even in a musical was crazy. But I was really encouraged by friends when that audition came my way to just go in, because Lucy is a very comedic role. And obviously, if you looked at my resume, there was not a single musical on it. So it's not like anyone thought I was a musical theater person. They knew that I was an actress who had done a lot of comedy. And the director, Michael Mayer, had seen me do a play many years before. It's such an interesting thing. Like, you do something and you have no idea it might lead to something, in this case, like 6 years later. But there was something about this part I had done in this play that just made him think, "Oh, I'd love to see her for Lucy." So after saying no several times because I was just so scared and didn't know how I would audition for a musical, I learned that you can work with a coach and you can bring an accompanist into the room with you and audition, things that everyone else but me knew. And so just to audition and have fun felt like a triumph for me. The idea that I didn't pass out on the floor, or that I even walked into the room and didn't run home, I was like, I am winning already. No matter what happens, I've just jumped off a cliff and I'm really proud of myself. And suddenly I found myself in a callback situation where it went from just singing any song to learning the music from the show to working with Andrew Lippa during an audition. And he was just doing, like a little musical rehearsal with me to hear if I could, just really to see if I could, what I could do. And I didn't even know what he was doing. I didn't understand the exercises we were doing together, but obviously my pitch was good and I could follow direction, and he gave the thumbs up in the singing department. I've said this before, a couple of months before I was cast in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, I went to see a musical called A New Brain. And I remember seeing someone in it, and I looked in the program. It was a small part, but this actress really stood out to me. And I was like, who is this remarkable talent? This human is extraordinary. And I looked in the playbill and it said Kristin Chenoweth. And I was like, that girl, who is she? That girl's going to skyrocket to fame. Cut to, it's the first day of rehearsal for You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And sitting next to me, I see they've written the role of Sally on the script of whoever was going to sit next to me. And that girl who I could not imagine I would be in a room with just a few months later, came and sat next to me. She's like, hi, I'm Kristin. I was like, oh my God, you are the most talented human I've ever met. I cannot believe we're going to get to be in this together. And from day one, B.D. Wong and Anthony Rapp and Stanley Wayne Mathis, Roger Bart, and Kristin Chenoweth had all done many, many musicals. I had been such a fan of Anthony's from Rent, and the idea that this person who I'd seen in that show so many times was now my co-star, the Charlie Brown to my Lucy. I was like, am I dreaming? Like, what is happening right now? And that company really carried me. They could have been annoyed that I'd never done a musical before. I didn't know what a mark meant. I didn't know why they had tape on the floor. I mean, really, I didn't know a thing about making a musical. And they would have been really, they'd had every right to be like, oh my God, we got to carry this person. Like from day one, this girl knows nothing about musicals. But never have I met more encouraging, supportive, generous. Kristin warmed me up every night. Anthony would, be backstage watching my scenes. I mean, laughing every night. We would just really be there for each other. And, the show, we did it for a long time. And it would have been fair for everyone to just go up to their dressing rooms when they weren't on stage. But all of us just loved each other and loved that show. And we made each other laugh so hard. And everyone who was a part of it will be forever for me the most special in my life. And I can't believe I did a musical. Like, it was so unexpected in my life, and that it was that musical with those people. I mean, honestly, stop me, because I could go on and on about how uniquely gifted and special each one of those people are. So it was great.
Yes. What just sounded like such a wonderful group and experience. That's meeting the right people at the right moment.
Yeah, I'll show you. I have a wall of photos of different shows, but this is the book report number, which is sort of an iconic shot from, a musical filled with great songs, but that's a particularly, hilarious and wonderful one.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Would you ever want to do another musical again if you got the chance?
Yeah, I mean, it would obviously, again, have to be a situation where the expectations of the vocals would be to entertain and not to relax anybody. But I do feel like, selfishly, it's the most fun in the world to make a musical. It's also the most exhausting thing I've ever done. So I would definitely have to get on that treadmill and start getting, my cardio back. But yeah, I absolutely would.
You also did a lot of movie and TV work. What is the biggest difference between stage acting and TV work for you?
Rehearsal. I mean, you know, every once in a while you'll work with a director in film who has made room on the schedule and demanded in the budget that there's time and space for people to rehearse. But usually you read the scene through, you block it, you're sort of rehearsing it as you do a couple of takes. Like it's a very different thing. So, and also, once it's filmed, it really becomes the editor's, choice in terms of what you do. You can think, oh my God, the third take felt really great to me. And then you watch the thing and you're like, oh, they used the first take or the fifth take, or, oh, they're on the back of my head when I was really crying. Like, it's so out of your control, but it's incredibly fun to do. So for me, I mean, I've done much more theater than I've done film, but anytime I've done film or television, I was saying to someone the other day, I don't know about you, I watched so much TV as a kid, and it really, you know, it not only did it entertain me, it just, I learned so much about the world and relationships from all the shows I watched. And so the idea that I might be a part of something that, someone is watching at home like I did when I was a young person, and that it sort of, I don't know, speaks to them in a way that may not be the way people are communicating in their own house, but they're seeing it, mirrored to them in another way. It's hard to be articulate about it, but it's a really unique and special experience.
You also did worked in an audience sitcom with Seinfeld.
Yes, yes,
Is it anything like doing theater? Because there's an audience.
yes. I mean, it goes very quickly. And, the one thing you don't have at a theater, which you do have when you do a sitcom, is there's someone before you start who gets the audience. It's called like a hype person, and they get the audience really excited and, like they're cheering and screaming before you've already begun. And I was like, "Ooh, that would be great to have, in life, someone who's like, listen, when Ilana comes out, I want everyone to go crazy." So there's always like a very excited audience to be there. I mean, the thing that was, you know, so often you do something, you have no idea what it's going to be. Like, who knew that episode of Seinfeld would be like the most famous episode? Like, you're just doing a show, you don't realize it's going to be the contest, and that many, decades later, people will hear my voice and go, oh my God, that's the girl from Seinfeld. But they also do a lot of changes. So like you'll do it, and then a writer will run up to you and be like, okay, this time I want you to say this or change this. So it's very, it moves very quickly. That was, for me, I was visiting a company that had been working together for a long time. And, I very much felt like they were incredibly welcoming and generous, which I appreciated, but also they just had their own language and you just had to keep up with them. And I was able to, and it was really, really exciting and fun.
When did you decide to do the Little Known Facts podcast?
Well, that was that was in 2016. So now if you tell someone you're doing a podcast, they'll be like, I am too, right? Like a podcast is it's like, I have a puppy too. At the time, it was much more. I don't know. It was like the whole thing was newer, and so there were less things to listen to sort of figure out, what kind of podcaster you wanted to be. It was really early days, but when I was approached about doing it by a company that produced podcasts, so it wasn't my idea. Someone came to me and asked me if I wanted to do it. I thought about, at that point, even 8 years ago. I mean, I can't even count how many plays I've done, which means I couldn't count how many dressing rooms I've sat in with the most remarkable people, with the most remarkable stories, and really inspiring stories. And I thought, gosh, if I had had something like this when I was first starting out, like an ability to hear from all these people I admired, really what their journey was toward becoming people who could um, make a living in the arts, and what it took to get there, and that you have this idea that because they've made it, quote unquote, that suddenly everything is easy breezy, and that there's always something, there are always roadblocks, and there are always ways to get around them. And so I just thought, how fun would it be to give it a shot and see what it is to, they say with writers, when you're starting out, write what you know. And I thought, okay, well, for me, what world do I know? Who do I know? Who can I ask to come on the show? And I've worked with a lot of extraordinary people. I mean, the Charlie Brown cast are definitely a part of like my first 10 episodes. John Slattery, a dear friend of mine who starred on the show Mad Men, was my first episode, and it went really well and gave me the confidence to keep going. And now it's like 415 episodes later. It's still here, and I still love it. Every week, I'm so excited to share my guest with my audience. I learn something every week. I feel privileged to have these conversations. They're my favorite thing.
Gorgeous. Yes, it's one of the reasons I started too, because I wanted to hear from the artists I grew up with watching or who are working now, and
Yeah.
what they're doing and how everything went. Because well, actors, theater actors especially, don't get much chance to talk about their work, and something that I think a lot of people would love to hear.
But obviously with social media, that's changed so much, right? Like now I think about, how many people just write me on Instagram, they direct message me, and I write them back. Like when I was growing up, if you really loved someone, you'd write a fan letter and you'd put it in the mail, and you'd wait and wait and wait. And sometimes you got, an autographed picture back, and sometimes you didn't. But the idea of having conversation, or feeling like a fly on the wall when these people are having conversations, there's so much about social media that I hate, especially as a parent. But the idea that you can just reach out to people you admire, and and people that inspire you, and get to talk to them about how they do what they do, it's such a great thing. It's such a cool thing.
I often do try indeed through social media, try to get in touch, and it's always so amazing when you get a reply and they say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm sure you do, and sometimes you don't, but it works out the way it's meant to be. But because so many people were so generous, when I started out my podcast, all of these people came on having no idea, if it would be long lasting, if it was going to be a good fit with me, and they just came on because they believed in me. And for me, if I can, I will always do it for other people, because I know how much it meant to me at the beginning to have people come on before it was a thing.
It's an amazing, it's one of the best things of social media, internet, I think, that being able to get in touch with people and connecting.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest thing about the podcast is it's for me, it's a community. The thing I fell in love with before I even knew I'd be an actor, but to go back to your original question, this feeling of community when I walked into these acting studios, and people just really, you hear about sort of, and from movies and television, the way actors are portrayed are like really competitive with each other, and it's very cutthroat, and there's only one role and I'll do anything I can to get it. And what I found actually in these rooms were people really rooting for each other and really encouraging each other and sharing information like, hey, I just read for this part, you'd be great for it, you should try to get in on it. Like, not it's mine, I don't want to tell anybody, but like, at least for me, coming up, it was just a very welcoming, generous, there's room for everyone at the table. And that's to me, the best part of it. These families that have formed and these friendships that become working relationships. It's been a really incredible thing to just connect with so many generous, talented humans.
Yes, I've noticed that when talking to some actors, and then you talk to another one who is friends with these, and you hear all these stories that actors do talk about their friends, and then you talk to the other actor and they talk about them, and they want to watch the show because they saw someone they used to work with. They're always a big and strong friendship. That's such a great thing.
Yeah, yeah.
What was some of your favorite theater experience?
Favorite theater experience?
Yeah.
Well, definitely Charlie Brown, even though it was so hard, because my brain was just exhausted all the time trying to learn this new language of musical theater and perform in it at the same time. It really felt like that. I felt like I was in a room of the most fluent French speakers, and I had never spoken a word of French. And so that was in a show that was just really joyous, bringing so much happiness to so many people. Um, I just finished, just came back. I'm such a Wicked fan and such an admirer of Winnie Holzman's, and she wrote a play, not a musical, her first play, and I just got a text one day saying, "Hi, Ilana, it's Winnie Holzman. Do you have a minute to talk?" And I was like, I called Kristin. I was like, "Excuse me, is this really her number? Is this actually?" And she's like, "Yes, I just talked to her. She wants you to do her play." So that was really thrilling. I worked with this actress, Caitlin Kinnunen, who had been in The Prom on Broadway, who I loved, who had been on my podcast. She played my daughter. A guy named Dakin Matthews, who plays the older man in Waitress, was in the show with me. A lot of musical people were in this play, even though it was not a musical. And I just could not believe that I was now working every day with Winnie, this woman who had written this musical that I sing all the time in my house, in my car, about really important themes going on in the world right now. So it happens to be that my most recent experience is one of my favorite experiences because, as I told you before we started recording, I love working on new material. I love helping figure out the puzzle of a new piece. And to be trusted with a new play, I come in for 2 or 3 months to work on it. This writers work on something for years and years by the time it comes to you. And so you want to make it what they dreamed it would be. So to collaborate in that way and help someone see the play come to life that they've just been working on in their computer in their bedroom for years and years, that's like a thrilling thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it must be wonderful seeing someone being enthusiastic as well about bringing something to life and feeling the part.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was wonderful. So that's my most recent experience. I mean, in the early days, I was part of, a theater company in New York City where, all these people just out of college, and we would do a lot of, plays that had social and political themes. The writers would be given a prompt to write about some sort of issue going on in the world. And we would do these evenings of plays, constructed around that theme. It could be climate change, it could be religion, it could be faith, it could be really anything. But that, like, starting out and, like, it sounds so corny, but building the sets and being in the thing and selling the tickets and deconstructing the set when you were done, as a group of young people with all that passion and energy and excitement. And it was a company that really, it still exists. I mean, it's called Naked Angels. It's been like 30 years since that company began. now it's doing a lot of like in-school programming and bringing theater to areas that don't have enough live theater going on. There's a teaching component. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of that company and all of the incredible people that have come out of it.
What were some of your favorite roles to act through the years?
Well, I got to be in a play on Broadway called The Last Night of Ballyhoo. And ironically, speaking of Wicked, Carol Shelley, who's in this photograph right here, who played, who was in Wicked, played my mom in that show. That's a play written by Alfred Ury. It won the Tony. Alfred wrote Parade, that was recently revived on Broadway with Ben Platt and Michaela Diamond. I had my very first role on Broadway. I started out as an understudy and then got to go on. But to just come right away into a play where I wasn't a cover for someone, but I just got to be, you know, in the part with such incredible people, that was a very exciting, beautiful play to be a part of.
What are some of your hopes and dreams for your future career and work?
You know, I have to say, the lucky thing about starting this podcast is that it has kept me in touch every week with unbelievably creative, talented people. And so that has been a true joy in my life. And the fact that it keeps going is just a little miracle, and I love it. But having just done this new play, I realized how much I love being part of creating the first time for something. And so I would love to keep doing that. I'd love to just keep doing new work with really smart, wonderful, inspiring people, work that challenges me. You know, it's funny, people always say, like, if it scares you, do it. And I was like, I don't really know what that means. But in this, when I think back on the things that have been my favorite jobs, like I was really scared to do a musical as a non-musical performer. I'm really glad I did it because achieving it felt all the sweeter. And this last play I did, I had never had at this age in all my life. I'd never had a part where I never left stage before, where I had, you know, almost 200 pages of dialogue to learn. And I was like, can I actually, like every day I was like, I don't know if I could learn this. I mean, I really didn't know, will I be able to learn? It sounds so dumb when people used to ask me, like, how do you learn all these lines? I'd be like, I'm an actor. That's my job, to learn all these lines. But this time I was like, can I? I mean, it was just so many lines. And I did it. And I almost said no. I was like, I don't know, but can I do this? I don't want to get fired. Like, I've never been scared of being fired before I even started a job. And I was like, I don't know that I can do it. But I did. I learned it. And so I'm really beginning to understand the, like, don't say no because you're scared. Say no because the material does not speak to you or offends you. I mean, there's a million reasons to say no, but not because you're not sure you can do it. And that was like, even at this age, at this time, it was a really great lesson for me to relearn. Like, it's okay to be scared, just do it anyway.
I've noticed that I'm getting more and more inspired to do things outside of this again because of talking to people, just like you just said. Well, I used to write, but I haven't been doing it anymore, and that's sort of makes me want to do it again after speaking to so many people about writing and performing. And
God, if I could write, I mean, I really think, like, the idea that you can do it, no one has to give you permission to do it. It's yours, right? Like, you don't have to be hired. You can sit home, whether something grand happens with it or not, it's yours. And it's a way for you to express yourself. Anyway, I am so envious of writers. I wish I could.
is there anything you would like to tell people that you haven't before, or that you wish more people would like to know
About
you, or something you feel strongly about?
I guess the only thing I would say is, it's sort of the themes we've been talking about. As much as it feels like the pandemic, what is a thing of the past, it really was just like a minute ago. Like if you really look at how quickly some things have sort of gone back to normal in our daily lives, but I feel like I am still so deeply moved every time I walk into a theater again. Like there was a time where I really thought, obviously I love theater, right? When we talk about what I thought I would do, like I never thought I'd be in the theater. I thought I'd always be an audience member loving the theater. So that I got to do it is just a whole, life is crazy and you never know what's going to happen. But still, like I walk into a theater and I cannot believe we're back. Like it was so scary for so long. What would we be able to do once the pandemic sort of changed from pandemic status to be careful status? And so I guess just holding on to this gratitude and awe that not so long ago, we lived in fear of leaving our house. We were washing our groceries. We were listening to ambulances and sirens going by all the time and just not knowing when it was going to end. And certainly in my lifetime, I had never experienced anything like that. I think most people, this was unique. And so I guess to just try to stay connected to that gratitude for as long as we can about what is available to us again, and that kindness that we would show to a stranger and patience because we did not know what that person was going through. Even though we're not wearing masks anymore, doesn't mean people aren't still really vulnerable or suffering. And so to just try to stay connected to that feeling of like really caring for each other, and not knowing or taking for granted all the things that we've so quickly started taking for granted again. So I guess, that's what came into my mind when you asked me the question. I think a wonderful thing that happened is the respect that understudies have gained. That it's no longer like, oh, there's an understudy on tonight, I want my money back. Like there's an incredible appreciation that the understudy is just one role away from being a big star. And an understudy on Broadway is capable of doing things most humans cannot. And they have 4 different roles in their head. Like I saw this musical, The Outsiders, the other night, and I had no idea that one of the leads was an understudy. And then I found out from the director that that person had gone on as the other star the night before. So that the idea that this person had 2 huge roles in their head at all times, and he did it like just so beautifully and effortlessly. I had no idea. Like I hadn't looked in, at the little piece of paper in the program. So I think that changed during COVID, and I hope that stays, this absolute respect and awe for standbys and covers and understudies.
And swings as well.
Swings, yes, sorry, all the things, yes.
This might just be the one good thing, that more people get chances now to be seen.
And appreciated.
Yes.
Not just because they got their parents to come quickly when they heard they were going on, but like the whole audience really understands the value and appreciates the unique gifts that that person has.
What are some of your favorite musicals?
Well, I love Company. There's older ones and new ones. I love The Last 5 Years. I love Waitress. I love, things I saw when I was young, A Chorus Line. These are Into the Woods. Some of them are classics. Then there was like a musical that was like on Broadway a few years ago because the fans demanded it come to Broadway, called Be More Chill. I love that musical. Parade, the most recent. I have a lot of cast recordings on my Spotify list that I love to listen to. Big Phantom fan. I see Phantom merch all over the place. Was that is that a show that have you been to New York?
No, the West End.
But have you ever come to Broadway?
I still hope to do that in future. Yes.
Yes. So you've gone to London and you've seen a bunch of
But
so that was your gateway musical to loving musicals, Phantom, or are there other ones that you love?
no other ones I love, and also I was also into musicals before that, but this one is the one that made it big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not alone.
Like I grew up with a mother and grandparents who always loved music and musicals, but also operettas. That was a weird thing because all the kids in my class were totally into different things, of course.
Right.
Yeah, they were doing hip hop or rock, and I sat at home with my grandparents watching operettas on German channels.
Amazing. I took my daughter. They did this amazing adaptation of Carmen at the Metropolitan Opera this year, and just coincidentally, my daughter's babysitter has become a member of the ensemble of the Met Opera Company. And so we went to see just to see my daughter experience opera for the first time at this unbelievably beautiful opera house of a classic. She recognized a lot of the music, even though she didn't know why. And to see it done in like this modern, incredible way, it was very exciting.
Fabulous. Especially that when it's with someone you know, it's a great way in.
Oh my God. And then we got to go, afterwards. And also it was fun to follow her as an ensemble member, like throughout the show, and see all the different things that she did and roles that she played. It was very cool. She's stunning.
What's your message for theater fans?
Well, for fans, or whether you're a fan or someone who loves it, it's there's theater everywhere, and any chance you get to see live performance, you should go. I talked to someone last night, and there was a statistic where like 98% of Americans do not have access to live performance. It's not, I don't know about, how you grew up and what the government funds, but arts funding has really, over the years, I'm sure it's like decreased, and it has not been a priority when people budget for schools. And so for me, like wherever you are, wherever you live, make theater, demand that they have theater in your schools, in your houses of worship, in community centers. I mean, you can do theater in a barn, in a garage, you can do it anywhere, but make something, go see it, and or make it yourself, because I think the experience of being part of making something is a unique gift, but also to be in a room with strangers watching something together and having a common experience. It's a very bonding, beautiful, unique experience.
I think it's the same all over the world, that arts funding just keeps going down. It's in the Netherlands, in the UK, and well, in America.
Same thing. Yes.
It's just a low priority to it. Well, it's one of the most important things. I mean, I remember that one of the only times I was appreciated in school was when it was time to do acting or writing a little thing for a school project and that sort of thing.
And everyone's like, oh, wow, Dannii can write. Like, yes. Look at that. Yeah, I think that's true for so many people who may feel invisible in like the social hierarchy of school. And suddenly it's like it can be, I mean, nothing's perfect, but it can be a very safe, welcoming space for people.
Yes, it is, because I used to long ago have a little theater club for children, and a lot of children came there also to be appreciated, to be seen. and it's a great thing to do because a lot of them could just naturally act. They didn't need direction. They could just do it.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's very cool. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming onto the show.
Good. Well, it was
Yes.
so nice meeting you.
It was wonderful talking to you. It was just a lovely conversation.
And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. The same to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.